do you want to wait a little bit longer?
Yeah, we're going to wait a little bit. Last time it took a few minutes, so we'll wait, and then I'll introduce you as people are coming in.
All right.
Yeah, it's going to be exciting.
They're going to be like, man, Hernando tells the same jokes all the time. I can't listen to him anymore. It's the same
you might
jokes.
have some repeat viewers. Yeah, we'll wait a couple more minutes and then.
That's fine.
So. I do like the microphone and everything, it just adds to the vibe.
You got to set it up. I mean, you got to set it up. You got to make sure they hear the soul sounds of my voice.
Mm-hmm.
Well, plus this is, I mean, I do my own podcast. So
okay.
I just do all the same stuff.
Yeah. So it feels a little more natural, right?
It does that. And like I said, I like to karaoke. So when karaoke superstar in your own mind,
right?
Then what else do you need? I mean, you're good.
All right, so I'm going to go ahead and introduce you. So thank you, everyone that's watching. This is the International Coaches Summit brought to you by the Basketball Embassy. And today we have Coach Hernando Planells. And he is going to be giving a presentation on moving up in your college coaching career. And so we're excited to have you, excited to, be contagious with you. And it's all yours.
Yes, thank you, Petty. I appreciate it. I am pumped to be here with all of you. And I'm going to share my screen, everybody. Now, again, I think I mentioned this before. Some of you guys may be laughing at the same jokes. I appreciate it. They never get old, maybe, in my opinion. All right, we're going to share the screen. Boom, here it is. Again, my name is Hernando. They call me H. H, I guess, is so much easier. I've been Fernando, Orlando, Juan, any name that you've been called, I've been called, but I just call me H. It's so much easier with it. We're going to talk about your coaching career, whether you're high school, college, pro, whatever career you are in, it's all coaching, right? So we're going to do this right here, the first screen. Hopefully you see it. It is my name, my phone number right there, 919-972-9207. I just want to let everybody know that is the phone number for this phone. I only have one phone. I don't have a burner phone. This is the one and only phone. So call me, text me. If you want to email me, there's the email address, h@hernandoplanells.com. I know some of you who've already jumped on have already emailed me and everything else. I got to tell you, though, if you do email me, I'm going to put you on the Be Contagious email list. You could always opt out, but it's great nuggets on your career, on your life, on what you're doing with everything. Those are my social medias. I got Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. I know some of you are saying, can't believe you're on TikTok. I am. I do believe that I'm an old 90s hip hop star. So my son and I are dancing on there, and then I do some motivational things from time to time. So you all have that. I'm going to give you 3 books that I'd love for you to read with it. And if, I'm going to actually show it to you on the camera. So if you don't see me on the screen, then you should probably see me on the screen. But the very first one right here is called 59 Lessons. Boom. 59 Lessons. It is by Fergus Connolly. And Fergus Connolly is somebody who has worked with the NFL, worked with rugby teams, soccer teams, lacrosse teams all over the world, and just gives like great 59 lessons. So definitely pick that up. Next book, Leaders Eat Last by Simon Sinek or Sinek or Sinek. I don't know how you pronounce it, but it's called Leaders Eat Last. Great book. I actually just started it, but knowing me, it's going to take me a while to finish because I only read like a chapter at a time, and then I find another book. So that's one book. Last book, Making Marriage Simple. Boom. I know you're saying, why should I read a book about marriage? Well, I do, and I'm not married. But it's a great book about communication, great nuggets. Plus, it is a great book on learning how to connect. Because listen, your coaching career is based on connection. You've got to be able to connect with people in order for you to move up in your career. That means you got to go out of your comfort zone. You've got to stretch yourself out a little bit. You've got to do things that you're not used to. And you know what other relationship you have to do that in? Marriage. Boom. And I know I was married for 13 years. I expanded all these different things. I'm divorced now. But you learn so many different things because it comes down to how you connect with people. I got to throw this book. All right. Next screen we have here, and we have a few screens that we go on. Let me see if I could get it going. And boom. All right, here we go. I know what you're saying, H. There's a lot of pictures of you on the screen. I just want to kind of give you a short rundown of this career that we've all carved ourselves in. Obviously, I'm a dad first before anything else. I have a 19-year-old and a 17-year-old. And I know what you're saying. H, you look way too young to have a 19-year-old. I know, totally, right? But he is a college swimmer at the University of Iowa. His name is Preston. My daughter's name is Gabby. My daughter sings and dances, and she's actually really good. I'm shocked. Next is a picture of me at Duke. I was the associate head women's basketball coach at Duke for 7 years. It's a very fancy title. But it basically I had to do all these different responsibilities. Now, what you'll find out is that for 7 years, I was the coach at Duke. A year before that, I was unemployed and did not have my college degree. And 7 months later, I was named the assistant coach at Duke, and I'll get into that story a little later on. Currently, I resigned a year ago, so currently I'm now the head coach of the New Zealand junior national team. I don't live in New Zealand. I'm actually currently in Virginia. So I coach a team. I build a culture with the team 9,000 miles away. And I also own a company called Be Contagious. Boom, I got the shirt on. And we work with organizations and teams and leaders on how to really lead, communicate, connect with their people. But today I want to talk about the connection that we are going to have as we move on in our career. Let me just say this to you, that your journey is going to be filled with ups and downs. If you don't want a journey filled with ups and downs, you should probably hang up. I'm waiting. Good. No one left. This is a career, as you know, that it's going to be, you're going to be frustrated. You're going to compare. You're going to be like, I can't believe this is happening to me. There's going to be times you don't want to get out of bed. And there's going to be times that you are loving it. But whatever you do, you have to continue moving forward. And how do I know this? Is because of this. These are most of the jobs that I've had over the course of my life. So I was a high school coach. I was an AU coach, a JUCO coach. I worked at Foot Locker. I wore stripes. I was a copy clerk at a law firm where I just made copies the whole time. I was a coach on slam ball. I don't know if you remember watching slam ball. It was full contact basketball on trampolines. I did that. I sold insurance. I was a mortgage broker. I coached, and then I would coach professional basketball in Japan, Philippines. I did sports tours. I was in the G League. I was a PE teacher. I worked for Synergy. I'm losing my breath because I have so many jobs. I'm saying this to you because during the course of my career, I have been unemployed 24 times. Excuse me, I've collected unemployment 24 times. I've worried about what's next. And as I've gone through the journey, I realized that everything that I've done connects the dots to my next coaching opportunity or opportunity in general. So when you are going through it, and we talked about connection, what are some things right off the top of my head that I'm going to share with you on how to connect? Now, some of you may say, H, man, I know how to connect. I'm a master connector. I engage like no other. And some of you may be like, oh, I don't like connecting. I'm not very good with people. I'm an introvert, right? Introvert? Yeah, that's fine. Whatever you are, that's great. But here are the 4 things that people need to connect and engage. And there it is. All right. So these are the 4 things. Now, I talk about this a lot, but these 4 things help you connect with people, grow your connection, and then from there, it spills over to your resume, which we'll talk about, to your branding, which we'll talk about, to your narrative, which we're going to talk about. So right here, 4 basic human needs. The need for trust, all right? At the heart of everything is trust. Think about this, everybody. They will hire you when they trust you, and you will gladly work for them when you trust them. So trust has to be built, and you build trust through conversation, through shared commonalities, and through a passion and effort that you have together. The second one is hope, all right? They've got to have hope in you, and you've got to have hope in them. Listen, you've got to be a hope dealer. I didn't say dope. I said hope dealer. Do you give people a reason that you can do the job? Sorry about that. Do you give people the reason? And you can't just say, well, I'm a good recruiter. I get along with people. I'm very good at X and O's. Yes, all of that is important. But you've got to give the other person hope that they can hire you and that you can do a good job. Your sense of worth and competency, right? You are competent in your job, which you know, and then it's your sense of worth that is really important. Why are these 4 important? Because number 1, establishes a connection. And number 2, you are able to have self-awareness in who you are. So now you could approach the jobs that are going to be the fit for you. All right. I used to be someone that would go ahead and apply for like hundreds of jobs, and then I wouldn't get the hundreds of jobs. Then I'd feel bad about myself. Well, I never made the connection. I never gave them hope. And then my self-worth and my competency went down because I wasn't feeling good. So you have to be able to be ready for all that, but you have to use these 4 basic human needs as you are going through your journey on finding your next job. So building relationships, right? What can you do to build relationships? Here are a few things, a few points that I want you to really consider. Obviously, there's a little picture up there about the Avengers. You've got to find your people who are open enough to share your successes. All right. Now, I've heard a lot of people talk about, well, you have to have like 4 or 5 really good contacts who are going to be your gatekeepers to let you in to help you get jobs. Yes, that is correct. But other people have to know your greatness. Other people have to know what you are doing. So you got to stay in touch. What does that mean? Calling, texting, written letters, all that. But I'm going to warn you, don't be annoying. And you know who you are. Some of you are annoying. Let's be honest. Some, not all, but you have to be aware of how annoying are you. Being annoying means I'm texting someone, hey, what's up? It's annoying. Like, let's have a reason why we're texting. And yes, you may say, well, there can't just be a reason. But you can say, hey, listen, just checking in. Want to see how you're doing. Hope you and the family are doing great. Boom. All of a sudden, your name shows up on the text message. And now you are planting seeds of who you are in order for you to move on in your career. Second part, personalize it. No form, letter, or text. Do not copy and paste everybody. I know it's easy. I know you're trying to reach out to 50 people in a day, but don't do that. Personalize it. I've had people text me that they don't even say, hey, H, how you doing? What's going on? Are you all right? No. It's usually something like, do you know this kid? And what do you think? Hey, I want to know a human element. We all don't like to be used. We all don't like to be asked for doing favors. So what can you do to bring that together? You got to have a greeting, especially when you haven't reached out in a while. And I just mentioned, hey, how are you? What's going on? Your emails have to do it, your text messages. Even when you leave a message, all right? If I'm leaving a message to, I don't know, Hernando, for example, I call, hey, Hernando, how you doing? This is Hernando. I want to see how everything's going. It's been a while since we've connected, but I'd love to see how you and your family are doing. But I also want to give you a call about blah, 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 blah. All of that, you are maintaining and building that confidence that they can have in you. The last 2, talk to everyone. I've been to the Final Four, and I've seen a lot of you. Actually, I don't even know who's on this call, but I've seen a bunch of you not get out of their comfort zone to talk to people. Talk to people. You have to do it. Even if it's, hey, how you doing? How you do? My name is so-and-so. You have to do it. You have to talk to everyone. And then it's showing your face equity. And when you show your face equity, I hope you are smiling. If you're not smiling, then I don't know what you're doing. All right, here, I'm going to tell you why. Because we all have RBFs, right? All of us do. Even me. Watch this. Watch this. Here, I'm going to stare at you right away, and you will see how angry I look, okay? Here we go. That was pretty uncomfortable silence. But did you see that? I looked angry. I looked mean. Can't do that. You got to smile. So every morning, practice your smile. And my voice just cracked. But every morning, get up, your worst time of the day, and smile and say, yeah, I'm awesome. It builds your confidence. All right. Now, that's just building relationships. But I'm going to give you something, 2 things that are going to help you when you talk to somebody and how you build their connection. Here we go. This will be mind-blowing. Boom. 2 things, apps and dimes. By the way, I drink 8 cups of coffee a day. Keeps the energy up. You should probably do it too. All right, we're going to talk about apps first. We all have apps on our phone, right? Boom. Apps on the phone. Now, this used to be called coins, but a lot of us don't carry coins anymore in our pockets. So we're going to call them apps. Now, what are these apps? And this is a game that you must play with yourself when you meet other people. This is an intentional game you are doing so you could build a connection with someone. So your app, so I want you to pick 5 apps. Those 5 apps signify who you are as a person, a coach, etc. So if you are walking up to a high-profile coach, you were trying to see what are their commonalities. So your 5 could be, I'm a coach. I grew up in wherever, family means the world to me, and player development. You know, those could be, let's say, your 4. So those 4 apps are who you are. So when you are talking to somebody, you are trying to find what's common between you two. And when you find what's common with you two, you start gaining a connection, and it's a connection that gets remembered. All right, think about this for a little bit. I don't want to talk to anybody who I have nothing in common with, right? If I say the sky is blue and you say the sky is red, we have nothing in common because I think it's blue and you think it's red. And where's this conversation going to go? It's going to go into a debate, maybe even a fight, because I'm like, are you crazy? It's blue. So what you're doing is you're finding the commonalities. Now, the more commonalities you find, so if you go 5, 7, or 10, if you see those things are common, then all of a sudden, you gain that connection. All right. Now, by the way, this app game, you could do this in any walk of life. You could do it when trying to get a coaching job. You could do it when you're out on a date. You could do it when you're just talking to anybody out on the street. Anything and everything. All these principles that we are talking about are principles in connection that you need in everything in life. The second game I want you to play is called Dimes. I don't know if any of you guys all probably know who Alan Stein is. He's someone who has been to, I do a conference called Moving Up Leadership Conference every year at Duke. And he came and spoke about 3 years ago, 4 years ago. No, it's 3 years ago. And he talked about dimes. And dimes is basically that you got to give out 10 dimes a day, right? So dimes means a compliment or something positive to somebody. And really, when you think about it, 10 is a lot, right? 10. Like 10 times I've got to say, hey, I really like your hair. Or 10 times I'll be like, wow, you know what? You did a really good job today. 10 compliments are really hard. But the more you compliment others, the more you gain the connection because you are now noticing who they are. So, give you a perfect example. Let's say I was still coaching and I was still coaching at Duke and you don't know me, right? You walk up to me, say, hey, Coach Hernando, my name is so-and-so. And I just wanted to come up and say hello. And I saw your game against, who knows, let's just say North Carolina. And, I saw that you guys won by 10. It must have been a great game. What you're doing is that you gave me a compliment about you saw the game. That's a compliment. Saying that I saw your game is a compliment. The second compliment is like you guys did a great job. That's another compliment. And the third is now you're tying it in that you actually noticed what was happening in the game. So those are 2 things that I suggest to you on how you connect. Okay. Again, some of you may be saying, well, what does this have to do with me getting a coaching job? Everything. Because people are going to hire you for 2 reasons. Either because they like you or they think you can do the job. And if they like you and they think you can do the job, then you got the job. So you have to find a way to be liked and show that you can do the job. So how are you going to show that you can do the job? Well, it comes down to how you are selling you. Yes, everybody, we are in sales. Hate to tell you about it, but we're in sales. You're in sales when you're trying to get a coaching job. You're in sales when you're trying to keep your partner. You're in sales when you're trying to buy something. You're just in sales. So you got to keep it brief. You got to have your own narrative of who you are. All right. And again, when you have your own narrative, then the resumes become easy. The cover letter becomes easy, which I'm going to show all that as well too. But all these things, you got to keep it brief. Keep it really brief. You got to share your skills. What are you good at? And please be more than saying, I get along with my players. How do you get along with your players? How do you go ahead and build relationships? That's what people want to know. Not that you just get to know with players. All right. Mention your mission. All right. I don't say goals. I don't believe in the word goals because once we reach the word goal, then we stop. But if we make everything a mission, then we constantly are doing things to make ourselves better so that we can go ahead and move on to different business missions. And then have your business card. If you don't have a business card because you don't have a coaching job, you better go make one. You just got to make it. I've seen some great business cards. And on this business card, you better put your picture on it. You better put your picture because I'm going to tell you the sheer reality of some things. If I didn't have a picture on a business card that says Hernando Planells or Hernando Planells, you could only imagine what they're going to envision who I look like without a picture? I'll let you take a guess. You don't have to, but you can imagine. Right? This is just society. So you have to have your elevator pitch. You have to know who you are. And that means you got to create the narrative. Now, here are some things. We talked about the elevator speech before. You need to be persuasive. What is persuasive? Persuasive is being confident in who you are. So when you are talking about yourself, make sure you practice up against a mirror and then record it. And then laugh at yourself because, like, gosh, I am so ridiculous. Yes, but you know what you're doing? You're taking the next step in order for you to get a great college coaching job, because presentation is almost everything. It's how you present, how you look. Is your skin all right? Have you shaved if you're a guy? What are you wearing? Is it too big? Is it too small? All these things. This is branding, people. This is branding. So you got to share your skills, be positive and flexible, and know your audience and speak to them. Now, all around here, as you can see, I have different social media icons. I'm going to encourage all of you to really be tremendous at social media marketing and branding, and not just for your team, but for you. Okay. And I know some of you may say, listen, I don't want people up in my business. No, I don't want people knowing what I do. Well, then my question is, what are you hiding from? Right? We are coaches. We are teaching people to be open. So you be open, right? So guess what? The NBA, right? I spent time with the Boston Celtics and the Maine Red Claws, their NBA D-League team. And I think it's still like this with their coaches. Almost none of their coaches, if any, has Twitter. They are, I don't want to say forbidden, but they have to control the message so they don't allow them to do it. But you, if you're trying to be a college coach or high school coach or whatever coach, what do you stand for? If I'm a head coach, why do I want to hire you? That's what you have to ask yourself. So what is your message that you are building out? All right, so I'm going to go ahead and share another screen here, and I'm going to go ahead and let's see here, everybody. I'm going to go to, I think I need this one. All right, so this one. I'm going to go to my own Twitter. Patty, can you see my Twitter page? Oop, I guess I lost everybody. All right, so I think I got it. All right, so anyways, if you do, I'm assuming you guys, hold on, let me see here. Patty, can you see my Twitter page? Okay, there you go. I didn't see it before. All right, now here we go. So, and listen, I'm not doing this because it's my Twitter page. I'm doing this because I want you to see how important it is. First of all, you need to tell people who you are right up in this area. I've seen too many people say, coach, or I coach so-and-so, or I like the beach. Guys, I'm sorry. People are going to look at your Twitter. All right, they're going to look at your Instagram. Don't make it private. Don't make it private. I don't care what it is you are, because the first thing they're going to do, because the society we're living in, is, what are you hiding? All right, here we go. So my first part, obviously I don't coach in college anymore, but I basically tell people what I do. I help organizations communicate, connect, lead, and grow. I have my own hashtag, of course, with my podcast, with the link, but I have the under 19 head coach of basketball New Zealand. So there it is right there. So people still know that I coach. Do people know that you coach? Do people know where you coach? And what is the impact that you're making? You could put it all right there. Your narrative we just talked about could be right there. And social media is important, because I'm telling you, as coaching continues to move, as athletic departments, as athletic directors start getting younger and younger, they're going to look at this. I want you to write down this one guy's name, Jeremy Darlow. Jeremy Darlow, the social media for college programs. All right, he just got Pitt football, Georgia Tech football, Mercer athletics. Why is that important? It's because branding is everything in recruiting. And if you want to tell me you're a good recruiter, then you also have to show it in your brand when it comes to Twitter. So here we go. I have all this stuff. I have, my website. You can have your school website. I put where I'm born because, heck, I'm 43. That's fine. Now, when you go through your content, are you posting every day? Are you retweeting? Now, you could say, hey, listen, I don't want to put a quote every day. Great. It's called curating content. You just go to other people's content and share. But you have to be active. You have to be active. And as coach, like I went to a coffee bean shop. Look at this, beautiful coffee. Document where have you been. People want to know that you are a person. All right, people want to know that you are. All right, I have a podcast. Anyways, I have all these different things that I want you to take a look at. But here's the other thing on social media, everybody. I have right here 3,597 followers. On Instagram, I have 28,000. Now, I'm not bragging. What I'm saying is this. In the world of social media, only 10% sees your content, okay? If you are not active, less than 10%. So this means on my group, I have about 300 people seeing my content. The more I post, the more people will see. The more people will see, the more your recruits will see, the more your team will see. So I say all this basically to tell you that you have to go ahead and be a little bit more active in what you're doing in creating your narrative with everything. Now, hold on. Let me go back to my screen. Are we back, Patty? Are we back to the creating your narrative? Perfect.
Yeah,
okay. Good. Good. Guys, by the way, I didn't say this. If you have any questions, stop me. Go ahead and just put it in the chat box. Let me know. I have a tendency to talk way too fast. And if I'm not hitting a point, let me know. I'm trying to help you guys out. All right. So again, these are all things that you are shaping your narrative. And again, I can't tell you enough how important it is. People have to know who you are, guys. Like that's connection. If you're afraid to let them know, then how do you expect your players to let you in? Come on. All right. Here we go. Next, one second. I want to do that. All right. Next screen is this. So take a screenshot of this. These are creating your narrative, short examples, whether you want to be GA, whether you're a big-time high school coach, or whether you're an assistant coach, whatever else, these are different things that you have to play with. And I'm telling you, you have to practice this all the time because it's easy that all of a sudden you may be in an elevator and you're going to be shocked. I was in the elevator one day with Coach K, the men's coach at Duke, and he was drinking his coffee. The first couple times I got in the elevator, I tell you what, I was like, it's Coach K. I can't talk to him. And guess what? We all do that, right? We all do that. So I asked him about his coffee one day. Then I asked him, and then one day I was very thankful because if I never worked the men's camp at Duke, I would have never been the women's coach at Duke. I ended up working both before. But so I would tell him that. But you start shaping your narrative over time, and this is a really great exercise for you. Our next thing is a resume. Your resume has to pop, everybody. If you're still doing it on a Microsoft Word document, I don't know what to tell you. All right. You know, when you send your resume in, and one question I always get is like, well, how important is the resume? I've heard that the resume isn't that important. Yeah, that's true. But it's only part of the process. Hold on here. It looks like we have a question. All right. Cameron Jones. Thank you for coming on, by the way, Cameron. All right. Hey, coach, I've developed a relationship with the head coach. Okay. And he's invited my wife. Okay. I went into the film. However, my question is, how do I keep that relationship going? All right. Cameron is the great question. Is talking about he already has a prior relationship with the coach. He's gone to the film room, how do you keep the relationship going? Okay, well, how do you keep a relationship going with a coach? So when you are thinking of a specific coach, write down 3 or 5 things about that coach. Google News them as well too. Read articles about them or a quote they said or anything like that, and then now bring it up. Say, hey, I saw this great article a few months ago when you were named the head coach or whatever, and it was awesome. Like that picture of you is unbelievable, right? Boom, that's it. Now they may say, hey, thanks so much. It's great hearing from you. Yeah, that's it. But what you're doing, you are reaching out to them in order to build those relationships. So you have to find different things. Do you follow them on social media? If you do, great. Are you interacting with them on social media? Great. Are you being annoying while you're interacting with them with social media? Don't do that. That's bad. And then, how are you creating value so they could hire you, right? You have to know what your value is. And if you're struggling with your value, then go back to the narratives that we just went over and say, okay, this is who I am. Guys, I only go through all this stuff because we are never taught how to know what our value is. We're just not, right? Our mom or dad usually say, hey, you could do anything you want because you are amazing. Yeah, well, your mom or dad, you're supposed to tell me that. How do we ever tell ourselves that? And we don't. You know why? Because we're coaches and we're supposed to be humble and all that other stuff and let our actions speak for themselves. Hate to tell you, doesn't work that way. You can go 30-0. Doesn't mean you get a job. Doesn't mean people will notice you. You have to do the humble brag on yourself and other people as well too. All right, so resume has to pop. Oh, wait a second. Do I have another question here? Oh, I love it. Alex, thanks for jumping on. Can you talk a little more in depth between the difference of goals and a mission? Alex, first of all, thanks for coming on. Yes, so goals is this. When I say my goal, well, actually, let's do with our recruits. Let's say you are coaching women's basketball, and every goal for a recruit is to get a college scholarship. That's what their parents say. That's what the kid says. And has it ever happened to you when they got to campus, they stopped working, they stopped doing all the things that established or they got them to reach their goals? And the answer is probably usually yes. You know why? Because the goal is done. So if my goal is to get a college scholarship, I've accomplished my goal. But if my mission is to be the best basketball player I can be along the way of life, then through that natural order, they will get their scholarship. They will then improve every single day because their mission is something different than a goal. So hopefully that opens it up a little bit. There's so many different things with it. You can give me a call about it. Love to talk to you more about it. You have my number now. Everyone has my number. Watch out. All right. So I want to show you a couple examples here of a resume, and I'm actually going to show you a few of mine. Okay. So this right here, first of all, this is, I do all my stuff on Canva. If you don't know how to use Canva, I strongly suggest that you learn how to use Canva. It's pretty easy editing. You could do this for your social media if you want to put quotes on it, etc. You put all your pictures here on this side, and you're in great shape. Look at all this. Anyways, so let me scroll all the way up here. All right. So as you can tell, I did here, if you guys saw the ad, I put the ad of what we were doing here. I put it all right here, and there's different logos. So here we go. So this is a cover letter as well, too. Of course, here's my name, phone number, email address, plainly shown. Leadership, communication, connection, that is who I am. And I want to give about 3 words. So when they talk about Hernando, it's leadership, communication, connection. It also helps me with my speaking points when I'm talking to people and telling them who I am. So this was something that I put together. This is something a friend of mine, Mark Bearkoff, he is the head coach at Randall University, three time in a row. Does that even make sense? He won the national championship 3 times. I guess I should say it this way. And he was up for a few jobs, and I helped him with his resume. As you can tell, it looks surprising like mine. This was for Hawaii Hilo. I just sent in my information so you could take a look at it. Again, there's a logo in the back. If you apply for other schools, make sure you change the logo in the back. I have the logo, and then I also get their school colors. How do you get their school colors? You type in Google the school color code. Almost every school has a color code, and you put it into the system, and boom, there it is. So I try to keep it 1 page, my profile, highlights, my education, and then my experiences. I don't necessarily believe, and it depends on the job, I don't necessarily believe that you have to show everything that you did. Because if you had a job, then it's a safe assumption that you coached basketball and you did player development, you did all these things. But you want to highlight you so that it could show here. All right, ooh, another question. Here we go. Kyle Adams on. What is the best way to frame your resume when you don't have a great deal of winning in your experience? Great question, Kyle. So I have to let everybody know that when I was a head coach, as a high school coach, a junior college coach, and professional head coach, I was horrible. I mean, I was so bad. I think my high school coaching career, was I 2 years? No, I think I was like 3 years ahead high school coach. I think my coaching career winning record was like 10 and like 93. I mean, wow, that's bad, right? And then I coached in Japan professionally, and my team, we were, I think, 10 and 45. Apparently, I could only reach 10 wins, and then everything just falls apart after that. So even if you do not have a winning record, it is now, what can I highlight other things? How did I successfully recruit? How much money did I bring? What were the relationships that I made during my time? Are you active in the Coaches Association? All those different things. You have to take all the little things that you consider little, and they become your champion in life. So if you're in Europe and you have won championships, great. Neil Harrow is assistant coach at Troy University. He's Scottish. Some of you guys may know him. He coached in Spain for 3 years, and then came over, was a GA at Valdosta State for I think 2 years, and then became the assistant coach at Troy. And he had some good wins in Europe, but the other that a lot of American college coaches don't pay attention to it. They should, but they don't. So you have to go and highlight yourself. If you have any pictures, great. That's even better. If you don't have any pictures, wherever you coach this year, hire a photographer to come to one of your games, dress up really nicely, and let them take pictures of you. Maybe it costs you $50, $100, but I'm telling you, now you have pictures that you can use for social media. Now you have pictures that you can show for your resume. And the reality is, guys, the more pictures you have on of yourself, the more it looks like you're big time. And that's kind of branding. All right, Michael Pittman. Oh, I love this. Michael, we are getting tons of questions here. How do you determine who should be on your reference list? I mean, I don't know. Who are the people that can get you in the door? Like, who are the people that are going to give you the wow factor? And who are the people who are actually going to recommend you, right? Like, that's another thing. They got to be able. So you got to call them ahead of time and say, hey, I'm going to use your name as a reference. Is that okay? Because you don't want them calling. I've had people call me and say, hi, so-and-so's up for a job. What can you say about him? I'm like, hold on. I've got to put the phone on mute. Then I got to Google him, or I got to see who it is. So I know who it is. Like, come on, you got to let me know. I'm trying to help you out. You don't have to put it on there. I mean, you could put on name recognition. I think that works as well too. But again, who are they? How close are you to them? And how can they help you progress in your career? And I was going to say something else about that, and I totally forgot. Maybe it'll come back. All right. So this is sort of, some resume things. Again, is it super important? No. Is it part of your package that you need to have? Absolutely yes. It's got to be in your repertoire. And I just wanted to use that word because I've been practicing that every day. All right, so here it is. Again, creativity, and you got to show the badass you really are. All right, and how can I explain this just a little bit? I know how to explain this. Have you ever had like your mom's cooking, and you think your mom's cooking is like the best in the world? And if you don't think your mom's cooking is the best in the world, then think of someone whose cooking is amazing. And then you have someone else's meal, and they cook the same meal. It's just missing something. Right? And you think, I think it's missing like paprika or pepper or seasoning. No, it's not. You know what's missing? Boom, right there, heart. That's what it's missing. So everything that you put in, it has to be with heart, everybody. It has to be. Because those are things that propel you and make your creativity and your badassness, if that's even a word, shine. Okay, moving on here. And, oh, wait a second. Oh, let's see here. Nope. Boom. All right. The interview. Now, when you get to the interview, if you've gotten the interview, this is when everything becomes just a little bit more real. And you've got to be really prepared. You got to have your resume. You got to have a portfolio. Now, I'm not saying like a 10-page portfolio or 20-page portfolio. I've had other coaches send me the portfolio, and there are some that are, wow. I'm like, yo, I can't even do that. That looks amazing. Portfolio has to be a reflection of who you are. And it could be your offensive philosophy, your staffing philosophy, everything. Now, if you're going for an assistant coaching position, I would suggest maybe 2 or 3 pages, and maybe it's a recruiting philosophy. Maybe it's a service mindset, right? Keywords that are so important. Service mindset, a loyalty expertise, right? Because that's what coaches want to hear. Are you loyal, and can you serve? All right. So those are things. And then you have to have thank you notes. They need to be ready as soon as the interview is done. So let me kind of explain this for you. So let's say you're interviewing on Tuesday at 10 a.m. Tuesday morning, before you go to 10 a.m., those thank you cards should already be in the mail. They should be dropped off at a post office or whatever. This way, the likelihood that they're going to get it the next day is magnified, right? Those thank you notes. So thank you notes, email, text is great, all those things. And when you write a thank you note, it's like, hey, thanks so much. And you have to bring something back on the conversation. What was it? What stood out, etc. When you're on the interview, a few questions to ask, because I get this a lot. Like, all right, what should I say? When someone asks me about questions, like what should I say? I'm sure all of you say the same question, which is, so what are you looking for? When are you going to make the hire? Hopefully you're not asking how much it's getting paid. I mean, don't do that. That's bad news. And those are the basic questions. So the people start answering the same question. One question you must always ask is this: have I answered all of your questions perfectly for you? Maybe not perfectly is the word, but have I been able to fully share with you and have answered your questions? Because I'll tell you what, someone can ask me a question and I'll just go off. And then afterwards, I'm like, did I just answer your question? Because I don't think I answered your question. So you have to be able to do that, right? It's that CEO mindset in order for you to be fully prepared. Now, that's the one preparation. The other preparation is your personality. How do you come across? Are you type A? Are you confident? What are you wearing? What is the type of performance you're giving? Now, I know what you're saying. Coach, this is not a performance. Like, I have to be me. I want to be me. Listen, stop saying that. It's a bunch of BS. And I'm going to tell you why. I'm going to tell you why it is a bunch of BS. Because you are you when you go out with your friends and you have a great time and you're laughing. And you're like, ha, 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 and you're just doing all that. But then all of a sudden when you get in like this professional environment, all of a sudden you have to be like, so, I don't know, quiet? You don't have to be loud, right? You don't have to. But the ultimate person, actually, let me go back to our athletes. The ultimate athlete is the one who can combine their social media persona and their persona they show everybody else. When they combine those together, then you have the ultimate student athlete, player, person, etc. You know why? Because they're comfortable with themselves. All right. I interviewed at one time for the UC Irvine head coaching position. Obviously, I didn't get it. So I usually wear dress shoes with white soles on the bottom. I got to Irvine and I said, oh, I don't know. That looks way too like casual. So I went to Payless because they were cheap shoes. I went to Payless and I got shoes that were, black soles. So I go on the interview. AD is great. What's his name? I don't know. Great guy. He's now the AD at Cal State Northridge. We're sitting and talking like, hey, I really like your shoes. I have those same shoes. He says, well, why don't you wear them? I was like, I didn't know what to say. Because I changed because I thought it was the way. Listen, guys, if you can't be you and get the job, then that job wasn't for you. Because the last thing you want to do is conform to a job or a boss that isn't for you. And then midway through the year, you can be like, oh, I hate this person. And trust me, when I was on the road recruiting, half of y'all hated who you work for. And you can't do that. Like, you've got to be perfectly set with everything. All right, hold on. We got a question here. Casey, thanks so much for joining. Do you use any other site for your resume besides Canva? I've seen people use, Photoshop. I think anything where you're able to just go ahead and put things in it to make it look artistic. Now, you may say I'm not artistic. Fine. Google best resumes and click on the ones that are on Pinterest. And then you see different ideas, right? You have to have these ideas with it. So it'll give you something. Tiffany Morton. Tiffany, thanks for jumping on. Hi, what other questions should we ask during the interview? Great question, because I did take that one question and kept talking, and I forgot to talk about the other questions. All right, so other questions you can ask. To ask, like, was there anything missing from last year or the previous years that you are looking for someone to fill, right? Because you are looking for yourself to fill a need. Like, how can you serve that coach? In order to serve the coach, you have to understand and get a feeling of what the need that they need. So when I first was the assistant coach at Duke, the very first thing I did was I asked, Al Brown, who was there, and Joanne, the head coach, is like, all right, what do you need? What are things that are open that isn't being fulfilled? And it was recruiting. So I jumped into recruiting right away. I was not going to go in there and show all my great out of bounds plays or this great offense or any of that stuff. Like, no, you must, as a coach, it is your responsibility to spend good amount of time, yes, on strategy, yes, on X's and O's. But I'm telling you, you better share spending the same, if not more, on your culture, your leadership, and your connection. And all of those things seeps into the interview, seeps into resume making seeps into connecting with people. All right, so that's one question. Sorry, Tiffany, I'm going off there in a second again. Another question that I think is really important is talk about the administration. You know, what do you love about the administration? What do you love about the school? Ask them. Get to know them as a person, right? We all don't do that. Let me ask you a question. When you started talking to someone or dating someone, did you not ask any questions? You just stand there and just be like, oh, that's great. Yeah, I want the job. Yeah, I want to date you. No, you asked, what did you like? What restaurants? Where do you eat? What do you like to do for fun? All of those things. You're just shifting that mindset to the person you're interviewing with. That's all it is, everybody. The principles are the same. We, though, have a tendency to draw these lines that are so rigid, saying, I don't know if I should ask that. Should I ask that? Should I not ask that? Listen, your one question is not going to change the scope if you're going to get the job or not, right? It could be from the way you walked in, from the way you presented, or sometimes they just knew who they were going to hire. I think I saw a question pop up here. Oh, no, where'd it go?
Yeah, it says, I'm at a top high school basketball program in Minneapolis. I've been there for 2 years and I do player development. How long should I be there before I try to make the switch to college? Or what are some things I need to accomplish at the high school level before I make the jump?
No, Cam, just make the jump. If you can get the job, you get the job. Like there's no like plan. I hear way too many coaches. They say this. All right, well, first I'm gonna be a GA. And then I think, should I be a basketball operations route or should I go this other route? No. You get the best and the highest position you could possibly get. Now, I've said that to some people, and then I hear coaches say, well, what if I'm not ready? But I want to learn. You know, I want to be ready when I get the job. Listen, we're not ready. I'm not ready to be a dad, and my kids are 19 and 17 years old, all right? So you'll never be ready. Now, you'll be more prepared. And if you can't learn by watching other people, then you got a lot of other problems. Not you, Cam. I'm not talking about you, Cam. I'm saying, but everybody, right? So, Cam, I'm saying to you, go. If there's a job open, go for it, right? Take every opportunity that you have. Now, if you're at a top high school program in Minnesota and you feel that you can go ahead and progress from there, then do that. But again, it goes back to what we said earlier. You have to be seen. Are you being seen? Do people know who you are? And if people know who you are you leveraging that so you can go ahead and get the job? All right, Casey with another question. Do you stick to the same format for every resume? Yeah, I mean, it makes it easier, yes. But at the same time, too, like you have to see maybe there's another scheme or something that you like better to throw on there. Again, the resume is only part of that process, especially at the college level. For some jobs, they just put the job out there because they need to do it for school reasons. I know one school for the last few years, they just have the job out there just to collect resumes. So don't get offended with any of that stuff. You just do it. All right. So that's interview. And then let's see here. All right. Just a couple more here. Oh, here we go. You got to know your mission. You got to embrace struggle and you got to take a risk on yourself. All right. Now, if you are an overseas coach, you've got to continue to, and this goes for anybody, whether you're overseas or here in the States, you've got to build those relationships. And it comes down to players. You want to be in college coach? Do you have players? Do you have access? Now, I'm not saying they're going to hire you because you have players, but when you are able to give them valuable information, then you become closer to them. Now, the other part of it is that you continually give information, then you become valuable of where you are, and then they may not want to go and help you. Okay, we'll go make other connections, right? You've got to continue to expand your network, and you expand your network by building the relationships so that they will know how valuable you are. Guys, it comes down to what's your value and what is your value that you can show. Now, some of you may say, I don't even know what value I have. Well, you gotta write them down. You got to see with all these different things that you have. I went from Duke is my and this is how crazy college coaching is. Duke was my very first Division I coaching job on the men's or women's side. The last time I coaching in college was a junior college. And before Duke, that was like 10 years before. So I went 8 to 10 years without any college coaching experience because you don't need it, right? Now, some coaches may say they need it, but it was the relationships that I built. When I got the job in the NBA G League with the Celtics and Red Claws, it was because I would just show up to tryouts. I would show up and do camps. I mentioned earlier how I built my relationships at Duke was I would do the camps and I would make myself known and I would be valuable. Showing value because you know how to teach a jump stop, sorry guys, that's not cutting it. Like it is just not cutting it because a lot of people can teach a jump stop. Now you may argue how well they teach a jump stop, but what are you doing to separate yourself from everybody else? That's what it comes down to. And you're using all these avenues to go ahead and sing your praises in a very humble brag way. Humble brag. What does that mean? There's a difference in saying, wow, I am so excited that I'm able to work in this gym with this player, right? That's bragging. All right. Yeah, you put the word excited, but still bragging. But a humble brag is, basketball's taken me so many places, and this is just another great opportunity that I'm blessed to have, or I'm excited to have. Totally different tone, everybody. Totally different tone. I suggest you not talk about how great you were if you were a coach before. You could talk about the players that came up in your program and the successes they have had, and that is extremely different and extremely useful with that. So with that being said, everybody, boom, there it is. There's my contact information. If you have any more questions, I think we still have like 5 more minutes, I think, Betty, right?
Yeah. We have someone raising their hand. I don't know.
Oh, yes.
A question or.
Oh.
I haven't seen it. Brenton, if you would like to ask your question in the Q&A section, that would be great.
All right, Brenton, let's go. Bring the questions over. And again, if I haven't hit anything, please, I know some of it may be like, wow, were there any answers in that presentation? There is, right? You really have to, I'm going to say this over again, you really have to know who yourself and you have to stay inspired. And if you are not getting jobs, some of it is also not what you're doing. It's also just what's happening in the world today. And then, with what's going on, there aren't a lot of opportunities and there's a lot of hiring freezes. There are jobs that are open, but that coach could talk to you today and then not even remember you like 4 times ago. A month later. So stay in contact. All right, Alex, here we go. How much time during an interview or emphasis on your resume should you put on recruiting? Well, on the interview, you should definitely talk about recruiting, but do not use the word I or me. We did this in recruiting. We went ahead and put this recruiting part together. It shows you're a team player, shows that you're more interested in the we than the I with it, which, some coaches want to hear. On the resume, I think it's good. I think if you're naming individual players, that's a lot, right? And the AD is going to be like, or the head coach will be like, I have no idea who this player is. They're not going to remember who it is at all. And my old boss, I'd be like, Coach, do you remember we recruited this person? Don't remember. All right, well, forget it. We're just not going to talk about it anymore. So I think you got to put it, if that's your bread and butter, then that should be like in your profile part. Like, I'm an amazing recruiter. Mike, how did you hear about G League tryouts? It was online. You would see that each team would have their own individual tryouts, but at the same time too, you've got to reach out to them ahead of time so that when the tryouts happen. So I would go ahead and just call. I used to be, when people could have a dial by name directory, I used to call NBA teams at like midnight and just keep dialing numbers until I reached the coach, and you just start leaving messages with everything. All right, Tiffany, with another question. What are some things you have taken with you to an interview portfolio? What were your areas of emphasis? Well, the areas of emphasis were what the position needed. If it was an assistant coach position, everybody needs recruiters. They need a recruiter. They're going to talk about player development, but I spoke to a coach 2 months ago, and I was just asking about, job hunts and what they look for. And she was like, listen, if I hire you like in a month and you don't know how to coach the post, you have a month to learn how to coach them. You know, like, but that depends on what the coach. So if you cover everything, cast a wide net, then you're covering different things. And then during the interview process, you will listen and notice what they need with everything. So I think a portfolio is good if it's head coach job. It's going to be a lot thicker. For assistant coaching job, it's going to be a lot thinner. NA, non-applicable, with the great question. I love it. Once applying to assistant coach positions, should you contact the head coach via email? Introduce yourself. What's best for you? Yes, you should absolutely do that. You should also know who knows that head coach and can put you in touch with them as well too. It goes back to the apps and coins. How are you able to connect with them? Cold calling is tough, but it can happen. If you can go visit them, go visit them. But what value are you applying? And Jaleesa, what are some tips to become more effective recruiter? Here it is. Have a personality. I'm telling you right now, we live in an environment where everything's social media. When I was recruiting, I never spoke to a recruit longer than 10 minutes. Why? Because 10 minutes is a little long for me to be talking to a teenager, number one. Number two, I'm only effective for 10 minutes. Like, I'm going to give you the experience of a lifetime every time we talk. Right? Every time we talk, you're going to be like, yo, H, I love that guy H. And when you're an assistant coach, I hear a lot of assistant coaches saying, well, my head coach doesn't recruit. My head coach won't get it on the phone. No. Here's the thing. That recruit has to fall in love with you. When they fall in love with you, then it's so much easier to open the door, to get the head coach in, and then you're able to get them to hopefully commit. So that's what you have to be able to do. Mercedes Briggs. I love Mercedes. She played for me at Duke. Phenomenal individual. All right, what should be included in a portfolio for an assistant coaching position? Player development plan, recruiting plan, how you get along with your coaches. I mean, there has to be something on the importance of loyalty and service. It has to be in there. Whether it's your opening statement, whether it's somewhere in there, whether it's a quote, something that sticks out so that they know that is at the core of who you are. And when you already tell yourself, well, but I am loyal. Take inventory on what you say when coach isn't around. Take inventory when a player comes to you and says, well, man, why is coach doing this? And you say, well, you know how coach is. That's not loyal. You're already out. Sorry. Can't do that. That is not being loyal. So it's okay. You just got to take inventory of it and then grow from there. Yeah. Look at us with the time. Woo!
Yes. Well, for those of you that joined a little late, this session will actually be available within 24 hours. It'll be available if you want to go back and watch it. And then also, Hernando, you mentioned all your contact information is there, your telephone number, your email. So just want to say thank you to all the listeners. Thank you to Coach Hernando. And, we appreciate your time.
Thanks, guys. Hey, call me. It's right here, the phone. Call me or text it. Whatever I can do to help you out. I'd love to do it. Thanks, guys.
Have a great day.